But you would then be in line with the person in our next clip, it sounds like.
Her name is Nicole Mason.
One of the things that really, really upsets me, a lot of things upset me, but this upsets me, is that the people who are talking about poverty and what should be done are the people who are least likely to be affected. So we're talking about policymakers, we're talking about, my colleagues, middle-class people who are not worrying about, their lack of health care, health insurance. They're not hourly wage earners. So I feel like I'm also living in a bubble, right? So I live a very comfortable life, in a great neighborhood, great schools, all the things that I talk about in terms of what works. And so what that means is that I also hear what people are saying, right? So the conversation is, it's so bad. Why are people, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, whatever store, don't open on those days, right? You're horrible, you're Scrooge, you're this, that, and the other.
Yes?
Oh, I wasn't going to interrupt, but that's me saying those things. And C. Nicole doesn't agree with me. She called me a bourgeois snob.
And then I'm like, that is such a classist thing to say. Classist. Because if you depend on an hourly wage, and if you and I did, when I was growing up, and so did my parents, so I know that people sometimes like to work on the holidays because you get paid time and a half.
She's got a great point.
Really?
Yeah, she's got a great point.
Scrooges who have no sense of ceremony.
Okay, I think one perfect example of this for me was at that very same job at Kodak when I was working that fireman rotation. I worked the 4th of July, and that meant I got holiday pay, and it was awesome. Look,
you don't like 4th of July either, James?
I like hot dogs. I like hamburgers, but you can have them later.
Damn, you're a summer Scrooge too.
You can have them anytime.
Oh my God.
I mean, like they're there. Like it's fireworks, whatever. But
summer Scrooge.
But look, when you are on an income that is pretty low, having that little extra income, that time and a half or double time, because I also worked Memorial Day that weekend. I didn't have a choice.
Because when you're on C-Trick, right, it's mapped out the whole year. You can't choose. You can't get most of the time. If it falls on a holiday, it's like that's it.
You could. No one wanted to.
Right.
Why would you want to? Because you look, we are in an economy where the price of everything is going up, and our wages have been stagnant since the 70s.
Yeah, but I think catering. So I want to get into what C. Nicole says.
Yeah, we'll get there. But let me finish my point.
Okay.
Look, our wages have been stagnant from the 70s.
Right.
And this is one of the few opportunities that you have when you're on an hourly wage
to cash in
on that, to get a little bit of surplus.
Here's my 2 rebuttals to that. That's a fair point, but number one, okay, so if every company was like, you know what, all the people who either don't celebrate Christmas or it means nothing to them or are bah humbug, yeah, you can work. That would, and they could pick up the slack for everybody else. That would make sense to me. But the fact is, certain people who would prefer to spend those times with their family or whoever are celebrating feel pressured into working those hours.
All right, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you said that, because caving into these corporate forces that are continuing to demolish any sort of sanctity in our ownership of our own time. Look, I'm not talking about me here because that doesn't apply to me.
Right. And at this point, it doesn't apply to me because I'm fortunate. I have holiday time, but when you are an hourly worker and you don't get holidays off, and if it's a holiday means you don't get paid at all.
That's true. Okay, so yes. So
versus being paid double time.
So your next paycheck is going to be skimpy, which could totally screw you up. And at the worst
double
time
time
or
time and a half.
Right. And at the worst time of year that it could happen too.
Yeah.
I totally see your point. But caving into the pressure to increasingly just void any sort of sanctity to our calendar. I don't mean sanctity as in religious sanctity. I mean evenings, Sundays. You're talking about options. All right, if you want to give people the option, I'm cool with it. But Walmart's not giving people options. They're saying you got to work. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. I think that I would prefer a world the way that you describe it. I think that everybody should have the flexibility and they should have options. But the fact is, that's not what she's describing at all. She's describing a world where you're making $10 an hour, if you're lucky.
Which is funny.
You're making $10 an hour if you're lucky, and all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, you can make 15."
But they're not saying, "Hey, you can." They're saying, "You must. You're on the schedule, and I'm not going to tell you until a week before." That's the part that.
Hey, I'm not saying it's not crappy. It's terrible. It's an awful game, right? It shouldn't be that way. Those people should probably already be making 15.
Yeah.
All right, and we should be talking about 30 or well, I guess it wouldn't be 30. But
27, 25.
27, 25, right? We should be talking about that.
Before taxes.
Right. So we should be talking about, that's what we should be talking about, but that's not what we're talking about. That's not reality. Reality is that these folks are being screwed one way or another.
Reality is also,
and that's being screwed in a way that's a little less painful.
Reality is also that if nobody accepts miserable conditions, sometimes the conditions change. Again, easy for me to say from my perspective, but if you don't have people willing to stoop to a certain level and you can't find somebody to do it who's willing to go that because they're pressured into doing it, then things change. When corporations get away with stuff like this, it's another victory for them to continue to claim dominion over every aspect of the average worker's life. What's interesting about what she's saying is that she's accusing people of, I don't know if accusing is the right word, but she's painting people who have concern for these workers as kind of snobby and detached. What's funny is what I hear her saying is somewhat snobby and let these working class people have their time.
Let's stop for a moment though. But look, she's actually dealing with the problem. Like she can
afford to say this too.
Well, she's actually talking directly about the problem. She's not talking about some dream world where people are actually being paid well and that they actually have the day off, or they can choose to take the day off. We're talking about someone who works at Family Dollar or works at Walmart or works wherever where they don't have they don't have an option.
Dream world where somebody gets paid to write about music. But I mean, look, she's an academic. She's
she's the author of a book called Born Bright.
A young girl's journey from nothing to something in America.
Yeah.
But she's also a thinker, professor, race and gender justice advocate.
Right.
Okay. I'm just saying it reeks of like not reverse snobbery, but it reeks of like another layer of snobbery.
I don't think you can make the point without that, though.
Right, because she's saying my point reeks of snobbery. It's like, oh well, think about these people's conditions and that this. But I'm saying it's like, I don't know. I just it seems hollow. I don't know her work. You sending me that clip was the first introduction, so I might have a more complete impression looking into more of her stuff. But just the way she was talking, I didn't find it convincing.
Well, let's hear a bit more.
Right? So if you close the store and I'm not able to work and I depend on those hours and the extra money to be able to provide for my family, then where does that put me? So there's like this, moral ground that I think people sort of take without really thinking about, well, what's the impact of the people and the workers? Now, if you're
precisely what I was saying.
Right, but I think what she's ignoring, so there's a midway point in this argument. I think what she's ignoring is that there are people who look at that and say, well, then the workers should be getting paid benefits and they should be getting enough of a wage, and they should be what you're saying is pie in the sky. You need to look at the situation really realistically. You need to give them the opportunity to make money as it stands right now with what's available to them. Okay, I get that. But how about paying people decently, having unions, having some holiday compensation?
All right, let me stop you for a moment.
That's not bourgeois snobbery dreaming.
Look. You haven't seen the show Atlanta, right?
I haven't.
Okay, so it's a highly acclaimed show written by Donald Glover, a guy that Saby and I have a schism on.
Your main man there.
My main man, Donald.
Well, I don't completely. It's just his childish Gambino. I'm not.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he'll reappear a little bit later on the show at some point.
He's scheduled to be.
So, in an episode of this show, one character says, "Hey, look, I need to make some money now. I need money today.
I need some paper."
And his buddy says, "Okay, look, I got a plan. It's gonna make you some money. Like, we'll go do this. Do this." So they buy this antique. They turn this antique into a dog. Not literally, but they take the antique and they sell it and they buy a dog, and they're like, "Oh, in 6 months, there'll be a litter of these puppies, and we could sell these puppies, and you'll have $4 or $5 grand."
And he's like, "No, I needed money now."
Yeah. Which is precisely my point. We can hope for unions. We can work toward unions, but this is helping them now.
Whoa. It's helping some people. Some people don't have the option.
No. It's helping even people who don't have the option.
Okay.
Absolutely it is.
Okay, but you're saying that them not having the option is good for them. That is the definition of classist snobbery. Those little proles. Well,
look,
they're in such a rough situation.
Dude,
take away their choice.
When you're making $9 an hour, you are supporting a family.
Okay.
Or even just yourself.
Okay, but if you're making $9 an hour and you go, I still want Christmas off because my mom's family wants to see me. I'll figure it out. I'll plan ahead. I'll make it work somehow.
Look, we're not talking. Wait. We're talking about reality here.
There are some people who do that.
No, there are people who do that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who don't have a choice, right?
Right. So you're saying continue to take away their choice.
No, what I'm saying is that those long-term investments are great. Fighting for those things are great, but having the opportunity to raise your income, even momentarily, when you're basically living barely.
Let's do this. If you polled 10,000 people, no, let's go 1 million. And in that situation, and ask them, would they rather have Christmas off?
Or would they rather
make time and a half?
I don't know. I think it'd be a very tough choice.
No. What percentage are you going to get?
I think it'd be 50-50.
Okay, so you're saying for the 50% who don't want to do it, keep forcing them to do it anyway. And
that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's actually not a bad deal.
It isn't a bad deal, especially if the 50% who want to work get to work, and then the 50% who don't get the day off. But that's not the way it's going to break down. Walmart or something's going to put the schedule up, and they're going to say, no, you got to work this day. Maybe you can trade with somebody, but are they going to give you enough time to do that? That's what I'm talking about. Can they even make a concession and say, you know what, for the month of November, December...
Who's arguing that they shouldn't?
Hold up, though. can they even make a concession for the month of November and December, saying, you know what, for that holiday season, we'll post a schedule way early so the people who want to get out of it can have a chance to do it.
Hey, I agree. Making concessions. I agree that being flexible and scheduling early, I think those are all really good things. But what she's talking about and what I'm talking about is reality.
Glasses snob.
Call me a snob if I'm dealing with reality.
I mean, I'm just saying.
If we're talking about reality, I think reality is what matters.
Reality is messy. Some people don't want to work it who are in that situation.
I agree.
I'll say this. She's saying that the people who are like, man, those people shouldn't work, that they don't have a grip on reality, right? They don't. But what about you guys are not accounting for the people in that situation who don't want to work? That's reality too.
And
you're saying, no, it's better for you. Get your ass.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, and honestly, just the more I think about the 50-50, I think it's probably higher.
Probably fewer.
My guess is that it's probably the 75-25.
But now, again, are most of those people higher because they feel forced into that circumstance?
No,
just making the best of it.
No, it's not because of that specific circumstance. It's the fact that I'm making $9 an hour.
Okay.
All right? Or I'm making $10 an hour. I got a chance to make 15.
Again, without numbers, I would just want to know how many people.
No. That's a really big sticking point. When you're making $10 an hour and you have an opportunity to make 15, you're going to take every opportunity to make 15.
You're speaking for all those people, which is
I'm speaking for myself. I've been in this situation.
Well, you're saying you.
No.
She's speaking for them too.
No. She said she's been in that situation.
Right, but
look, when you are making $10 an hour or less,
I've made
right?
minimum wage. I don't
right?
have
No. When you have a limited opportunity,
right, to
give yourself a little bit of breathing room, in a circumstance where you have no breathing room, a circumstance that I can't even fathom having a kid trying to support myself. Right,
because you're not there now. You're not.
I can't fathom it.
And you're not in that type of job now either.
Right. But I know people who are. I have family members who are. And you have a moment where you have a chance just to give yourself a little bit more.
I don't think all of them.
Just a little. I'm not saying all of them. No one said all of them.
But you're not.
No one said all of them.
But you're not accounting for the people who wouldn't.
No. I'm not. You're not listening. I'm not saying that all of them. What I'm saying is that most of them.
So sacrifice the ones who don't want to, who would prefer not to.
It's not. Dude, we don't live in a Pollyanna universe.
And you don't, and we don't live in a universe that's that cut and dry either.
Yes, we do. Absolutely, we do.
Hold it.
The fact is.
No, you're responding to the wrong part of what I'm saying. I know about the $9 an hour. I know what you're saying about that. But you and this woman are. I'm sorry. You and Nicole Mason are speaking for all of those people. Let's see some numbers. If you do a poll and 99%
polls aren't accurate.
Okay. If you can tell me that 99% of those people are going to jump at that choice and say yes, that's fine. But you're coming at it from a particular perspective also. There's also other considerations as religion, family, obligations. Okay, so yeah, you might have a kid and be making $9 an hour, but you might also be expected by your family to be home for a holiday. That's not something you can dismiss because that doesn't happen for you.
No. I think you are overstating your knowledge of my family situation. I think that when you have family members that are making and living and supporting their family off $9 an hour, and they have an opportunity to make 14,
right?
You understand.
Of course, you understand it.
You understand.
Yeah, but
and it doesn't.
We're
it
not
doesn't
arguing
matter.
the same point.
It doesn't matter.
We're not arguing the same point.
Things like religion, things like family togetherness.
To some people,
no. I'm talking about poor folk that I come from. When you have when you are in a circumstance where you have a chance to just get a little bit more. You have no breathing room.
Okay, so
you have a chance to get a little bit more. You do not. You're not worried about all that. You're not worried about it.
So just so our audience knows, James will not speak for all black people, but he will speak for everybody who makes $9 an hour. Cue up the music. No, I'm just saying, I totally hear what you and this woman are saying, but the idea that she sounds like she's advocating people. I see her point and your point that, look, you want these stores to stay open because you want to give people an opportunity to make time and a half. Of course, I get that. The stores are open because they're not giving people the choice not to work those days.
We're not. The thing is,
she didn't address that.
Let's.
And neither are you. You're just like, I want the store to be open because I like shit open on.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Because you're not a Walmart shopper anyway, right?
Generally, no. But the thing is, like, look, I do like things to be open, but that's not why I'm making this argument. I'm making this argument because when you live in poverty, you have so few options to get any kind of breathing room. You're constantly behind. You're constantly under pressure.
So what's wrong?
You're barely holding on. You know what I want? Honestly, what I would prefer? I would prefer everybody getting holiday pay for that day, and that you should have an option. If you want to work, we'll pay you more.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's the way it should be.
That's what I'm saying.
No. Hold on. Let me finish my point. I think that's what I would prefer. The thing is, we live in a government where we don't give a crap about most of our workers. In fact, really all of our workers. Our government doesn't care. They don't care enough to intervene and protect these folks.
Right.
So these companies are going to do whatever they want until that happens.
And so caving to them is the solution.
No, it's not caving to them. It's dealing with reality. The reality is that our government does not care. And that there isn't a massive union movement.
You know who does care? Walmart cares. And if nobody will fucking work that day, then they'll care. They can't find people.
No, you know what would happen? They'd fire them and they'd hire the next batch.
Because the next batch would be willing to do it. This is what I'm saying. Okay? You have to at some point. So see, both of these perspectives, it sounds like I'm taking a hard line against no. I see what you're saying. All I'm saying is give people the option to do it. And don't fucking post their schedule.
And I'm not...
I know, but she's saying you're a snob. Like, I'm hearing in what she's saying, it's very classist.
Look.
Excuse me. It's a little classist of her.
Look, I think you're getting caught up in language. I think she's saying...
She used the term classist.
I think you're getting caught up in language. You're caught up in that word.
It's snobby, what she's saying. I'm sorry.
No, it's coming off snobby, but I get where she's coming from. I get what she's saying.
She's like, I've worked that position. Now I'm an academic and I don't have to. So I can actually afford to say these stores should stay open. Somebody who's in the situation you're describing is in a predicament. They don't necessarily not care that they have to work those days. They're taking the opportunity because, I'll take the time.
I don't disagree with that at all.
But it comes at some expense, is what I'm saying. She doesn't seem like she's being sensitive to that.
I think she absolutely is being sensitive to that.
All right, well, I guess I'm classist then for being sensitive. What she's saying is don't put your concern over that above these people's realistic circumstance because you can afford to say, I want Thanksgiving or Christmas or 4th of July, whatever, Memorial Day off. But if you put that concern above what these people's circumstances are, that's overlooking their reality to posture that you're concerned for them. And I would counter that her focusing only on the circumstance from her comfortable position, because that's great. I don't know, obviously she rose from poverty. She's got a book about it. You've worked these jobs, but it doesn't give you the license to say, well, you know what? Leave the stores open because everybody's just going to be happy to take their time and a half because when you're in that position, you don't care about anything else. Some people are going to care that they can't see their daughter.
Okay, so look. No one, I don't think she's even arguing that we don't care. What she's arguing is that there are unintended consequences for trying to be benevolent. And the unintended consequence in this case...
Without considering the people you're trying to be benevolent towards.
Yes.
I get that. And picketing and stuff to have these stores close would hurt people more than it helps. I actually don't disagree with that. All I'm saying is if you're gonna say that, she should throw in the other part of the equation. How much mobility do they have to change their schedule prior to having to work that day?
It's a 3-minute clip, and that's a nuance that I'm sure that if asked about it directly, or she might have even have thought about it herself.
I'm sending her an email right now to ask her to be on the show.
She might have to hear this.
She'll probably tear me up.
Yeah.
Especially, but you would have the grace at least to let her do it and not pile on. But whatever, I can handle it.
We should move on.
Oh, you're not going to play more of the clip?
I can play more.
Okay, you might as well. Steve.
If you're to say, well, close the stores and pay the workers, then that's a different story. But the idea that we'll close the store because you're being a Scrooge. Everybody should be home with their families. Doesn't really take into consideration the complexity of people's lives. For me, what's different is being inside of those kind of conversations where people are talking about what should be done or poor people and all the policies, and then having lived it.
And I think that's a very important point in all this. It may feel like she's coming from a snobby point of view now, but actually having a perspective of being both inside and out, it's what we admire about analysts. That are athletes, right?
Sure.
Someone who they've been in those situations, right. They understand those situations, and now they're explaining those situations to you in a way that you wouldn't know if you weren't in those situations.
I've worked a minimum wage job before.
Right.
I mean, I've worked,
but you haven't had kids.
That's true. Neither have you.
Yeah, and neither have I. But I've watched it. It's galling. It's terrifying.
Of course, and we're not only talking about. I'm not sideswiping the debate here, but there are people in very powerful positions who feel forced to work holidays too. Broadcasters, people who are making decent salaries, athletes as well.
The difference is with broadcasters and folks who are making decent salaries is that very often you have an option. Athletes are a little bit different.
Yeah, they don't have an option.
It's a little bit different, but their work schedule is limited.
And also, if you're up and coming in broadcasting, you don't necessarily have an option.
No, usually you do.
Not according to Jamel Hill and Mike Greenberg. I felt like they had to work holidays.
I think
early in their career to get to the point where they are now.
Look, I think a lot of them do. It depends on your sport. Like if you're calling basketball games, you're probably going to work on Christmas Day.
I was going to say, if you're coming up in that type of,
or if you're covering basketball teams, you're probably going to work Christmas Day.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're also going to get you also have flexibility that others don't.
You're also going to get a sweet meal, and you could probably bring your kids if you want to something. You're going to get more amenities, obviously, than.
And I think that's a pointless aside. I mean, I don't think that directly addresses the issue. I don't think it's even worth even going down that rabbit hole because I don't think that. I mean, she is addressing poverty head on, and everybody's afraid to have that specific conversation.
No, I'm not afraid to have that conversation. What I'm saying is, it's interesting that even people in powerful positions will concede their power under.
It's not conceding power. It's exercising power. It's when if you're a young journalist at a newspaper, you're gonna make you're not you losing that day with your family is not going to hurt you financially. It's not going to make you worry about food. Look. Let's say you didn't work Christmas Day and you're an up and coming newspaper journalist or broadcaster or whatever. Odds are you staying home that day or you taking a vacation day or whatever. Is it going to make you? Is it like you're not going? The stakes when you're working and supporting your family are $9. It's
actually,
you're constantly behind.
Well, okay, not to get into the too much of the nuts and bolts of this to deflect what you're saying, but I could easily see people in journalism who are making very low salaries, depending on what the market they're in, and having kids and being a single parent. And
it's possible. Look, I'm not. Look, even the lowest level of journalism
is better than 9 an hour. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So
they're not making minimum wage.
So all I'm saying is, give people the option. Do better at giving people. Don't be like, well, you know what? Leave this.
I don't think she's arguing against that, or I.
Just like, but there's a tone to how she's coming off. She's saying, you know what? Don't advocate for these stores being closed because you're robbing people the opportunity for time and a half. Okay, I feel you on that. But then just don't say like you're being blind by saying the store should be closed. She sounds like she's being blind, according to what I heard here, by saying the people who work those days should be accommodated more, and the people who do have other ways to maneuver out of it should be accommodated. That's what I'm saying. And you're painting with a broad brush. If you're working $9 an hour, you just have no choice whatsoever.
It's not no choice. It's a bad choice.
It's a bad spot to be in.
No. It's a bad choice. It's not making any money at all. So being short, as we talked about earlier,
right?
Being short or continuing or not having an opportunity to get a little bit of breathing room, because anybody who's supporting themselves or their family off $9 or $10 an hour will do anything.
How many of those
for a little bit of breathing room?
How many? That's what I want to know. How many of those people wouldn't work those days? I want to know how many Walmart workers would prefer to have the day off or that type of job.
How many Walmart workers? Let's be blunt about it. How many Walmart workers would prefer not to be paid at all on that day?
Yeah, that's what we're asking.
No, not to have the day off, because day off that could be there are many paid days off in our culture.
Days off.
Let's be honest.
I don't mean paid days off.
Hey, if you're working 5 days in a week, right? And your salary is under $500,
right?
Would you prefer to make $400 in a week?
You're answering for all those people, and I think
I'm not. No, I'm not answering for them. I'm not answering for them. I'm just being blunt about it. Would you really prefer? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear this.
I would love to hear it, and you're answering for them, and so is she. That's what sounds classist to me about it, because you're doing the same thing that she's pointing out that other people are doing. You're like, this is what's best for you.
No, I'm not saying it's best for them.
People.
No. I'm not saying that's best for them.
This is the best
I'm not
option
saying
you
no
have.
one is. No one's saying no. I'm saying that all the options are bad. All I'm saying is that you're in a situation where all the options are bad.
All right, I'm
saying that most people would take that bad option.
Okay, I'm open to that. If you can show me, then I want to know what most people would do.
Who the hell wouldn't? I don't even know how you could get that information.
We'll find out.
What does that even mean?
Well, I want numbers. How
do you find that kind of number?
I don't know. There's stats for everything.
No, there's not.
Well, we'll have to find someone.
No, I don't know if
there's probably academic papers on this topic that she has access to.
I don't even think that's.
And you know what? I'm going to write to her and ask her.
Hey, go ahead. I don't think that there's an easy. I don't think there is some like easy stat that we could Google. I don't think that.
But yet you feel comfortable saying somebody in that position has their backs to the wall, so they would. So by default, they're going to take that work day.
No, what I'm saying is that this is all anecdotal. All anecdotal. I'm not saying that I can speak for them all. What I'm saying is from my experience, both in working these jobs
and seeing people in your family,
and being my family and being my friends and seeing the toll that it takes on you as a person to work a job like this. And that when given an opportunity to make a little bit more, they take it.
And most of them would appreciate what you're actually saying is most of them would appreciate that opportunity is there in spite of
I don't think
the
they would. I don't think they're not even looking at it in terms of appreciation.
But in spite of the overall circumstance being sucky, they're going to be pragmatic and say, "Yo, I'll take this opportunity."
I think pragmatic's the term that I could use.
All right, so pragmatism, I think, is something that both perspectives could stand. I see what she's saying, that people who advocate for just eradicating these stores being open on those days are actually hurting the people they're trying to help. But the pragmatism goes both ways, is what I'm saying. How many of those people would actually prefer, given the choice, backed against the
doesn't exist.
Hold on. Backed against the wall as you say they are. Right, you're comfortable saying they jump on the chance anyway. I want to know. I want to know how many of them would say, you know what? Actually, and I know somebody who's done undercover, taking jobs at Walmart to try to start union shit in there, to try to advocate for union. Let me start again. Actually, I know somebody who has worked those kinds of jobs and who has access to people who work those kinds of retail jobs.
But even they couldn't speak for all of them, honestly.
But I want to know. I want a better idea of how many of those people try to get the day off. That's at least useful.
Look. I don't think they would even have that information.
But wouldn't you say, for the sake of this argument, that's at least useful to know?
I think that there would. I guess if we could know, absolutely. If I could know everything, look. What my belief is that some of them are like they're going to try to get the day off. I think that from my experience and working in low paying jobs and being around folks who work in low paying jobs, is that most people are, when it comes to overtime,
they'll take overtime no matter what, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
and they're thankful within reason, or thankful. Thankful is not the right word, but thankful at least for that to be something that's available to them.